There you are.
Well, happy Sunday morning, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, here with R. Wayne Steiger. Nice to have you here, wherever you may be it Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. We're glad to have you here. And Wayne, you were just telling me you had a video that really took off this week.
Yeah. Apparently someone reposted it on Facebook, and it just, like I said, 22,000 views for one video is,
What was it about?
The title of it was "Seriously, and we have to deal with this too."
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
yeah, and the message resonated, and it's still getting 500 views a day, so it's still out there.
Very
Uh,
nice.
it just dealt with some things of reality. But yeah, one of the topics that I thought we'd bring up here in a little bit kind of correlates and dovetails into that. So, but how was your interview with? See, you were on Coast to Coast.
That was a good one. That was a
Yeah.
good one. And let me just remind everybody real quickly about the big news that we had, just to make sure everybody has heard about it. For our show coming up a week from today, this time next week, we'll be preparing for this. We were going to have Jenny. You knew you were going to have Heidi. You knew you were going to have me, Dan from Overwatch Channel. And now the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Nanu himself, Rex Bear, will be there to be the keynote speaker. So that's 1 week from today. I can't believe it. 1 week from today.
Wow.
Here in Clearwater, Florida. And we've got it all set up. I'm going to make all the preparations this week. And we still have a few spots open. I think maybe 20 or 25. So there's still time to get yourself in. Just go to the website here and click right there, and you can get yourself in and get a free reading from Heidi. And also your numbers done, your numerology. So the only thing we're missing is Wayne Steiger.
A lot of people have asked, I'm going to be there. It's just, I had other things, and it's just love to be there.
It's a long way.
Yeah, it is. And I hate traveling by air. I just, and listen, I'm TSA pre, so it's still, it's like running the freaking gauntlet, that they used to have in medieval times. Lady, could I have your hand? Well, run the gauntlet first.
It's
Well,
no fun.
Yeah, what is that? You got to go through TSA. Oh crap, I give up. I'm going to be a eunuch, So
it's no fun, that's for sure.
It is not. But I know it's going to be, hopefully you'll be taking videos, of
yeah, I'm going to get over there the next day or two, and I think I'll be able to live stream it. We're probably going to live stream it.
Excellent.
And probably on several channels. I'm not sure what we'll do.
Well, I'll put it on mine and see what's going on. I think it sounds good.
Absolutely. We got Sterling in from Japan here in the chat room, I see.
Hello. I guess it would be evening there, right?
It would have to be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And we got
good evening, sir.
South Africa, South Florida, Australia.
Well, we're all over the world.
Japan. Yeah, it's quite something, isn't it?
Yes.
So, Wayne, what do you think about Mercury retrograde?
I've seen on Sechi. In fact, I am doing a show right now on a new satellite that people probably have forgotten about. But getting back to now, you mean physically or metaphorically?
Well, I just mean, what do you think about the whole Mercury retrograde idea, the whole Mercury retrograde scenario, how people react to it? What do you think about it yourself? Do you pay it any attention?
Not normally, no. But that's only because I am not focused in on it. But can I see the cause and effect? Yeah, I think that it's evident everywhere we look. I like the video that went viral, question how we put our center of reality.
Interesting.
And, that's one of them right there. The subject that I was out this morning at 4:50, Jeff, camera and all, was filming the moon. And this is the only super moon of the year. Okay, well, next month is going to be next year, right? Anyway,
Right. Was it a big moon for you guys there?
yeah, it was. It's very bright. You can't, with my telescope, you cannot look at the moon directly through the eyepiece. You have to have a filter on it, a moon filter that actually dims it down.
Oh, really? Because it's too bright through the
Yeah,
viewfinder?
yeah, it's very, very bright.
No
Um,
kidding.
yeah. So here's a puzzler for all of us today. We live in a world, Jeff, where we all say, well, I'm grounded in reality. And albeit ideas, whatever. One of the things we can say was that I can look up the sky and it's going to be the same sky you are looking at and I'm looking at. So that gives us a triangulation of reality. But here's the one question about our moon. How is it up there? It doesn't rotate. More importantly, how does it even have a gravitation field at all? And why doesn't it do what the other moons of all the others in our solar system and in our galaxy do? Ours does not rotate. Now, they will try to tell you, Jeff, that the moon does rotate, but I challenge anyone to show me any picture of the dark side of the moon being facing the Earth. So it defies the very laws and physics of gravity. What keeps it up there? Technically, if you want to get real technical about it, the Earth in its gravitational pull would be of such an influence, it would pull it in.
And I've read, seen a lot of people saying that they think it's actually like a holograph.
Or a potential observation point.
Interesting. I keep getting asked about this in the chat room, so I hate to do this to you, but we were on the air yesterday and everybody decided that I needed to get something. So they did this impromptu, what are those things called where you do money on that website? What's those called? Like you know what I'm talking about? You raise money. What's that website?
GoFundMe
Yeah, they
account?
did an impromptu GoFundMe and insisted that I get these. So I ordered them for the show, and here they are in all their splendor.
Are you expecting combat there, Jeff?
No, just, little sassiness, I think.
Okay.
So in
All
answer
right.
to the questions, yes, they're on order. I'll have them by, it says the 5th. So there
Let's
you
see.
go.
Davey said, I thought the moon was in a gravitational fixed point in Earth's orbit. Well, Davey, it's not a gravitational fixed point. If we say that the moon is being held in check by the two forces that are at play here, which would be our star, our sun, and the Earth, do you know what the calculations would be for that perfect balance to be hit and maintained? You see, it doesn't make sense when you see that the Earth is spinning at supposedly 1,057 miles per hour. All right. The question still becomes, how does it stay in such a stationary orbit?
Well, if it was in just the right place and, the energies and the gravities were balanced, I could see where they're coming from on that one. But there are a lot of mysteries about the moon for sure.
It doesn't, and our species will not stop and question these things. Only when we get in discussions like this that we begin to have that cognitive resonance begin to hit us, and we're going, you know why we don't want to talk about it, why we don't want to discuss it, is that because the implications would be too great if it was artificial. I still contend what they did on Apollo 15 still defies any explanation. And that is that when they sent the missile down, and that's what it was, to do a ping test, why the ping lasted for nearly, and if I want to get this correct, for nearly 2 hours, that ping continued.
You're talking about where it rang like a bell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There does seem to be a lot of anomalies about the moon, a lot of things that don't quite add up. Sandra D. Angelo says that it feels artificial to her.
Well, it is. It's an artificial light as well. You think about it, moonlight. Legends throughout our species history go around. All right, let's take it from a medical perspective. A lunatic. Do you know where that came from?
Accounts are being affected by the moon.
In the insane asylums.
Yeah.
That people literally change.
And our
Look at,
flat earth friends are having a field day in the chat room.
well, good. Everyone deserves their own spot. So I look at this going all the way back to Sumer. I mean, the moon goddess Inanna, or Sin, S-I-N, was higher than the sun.
In their pantheon?
Yes. So, all right, what is up with this? You know,
the moon is flat too.
You know, who knows? But my point, getting back to this, you think about Mount Olympus. We get into the Greek pantheon. We get into the Egyptian lore. All these gods had a place that mortal man could never get to. You know, when I was a Christian, I actually wrote a paper on this, that it was where the demons lived and occupied was the moon. And the reason why it's a place of extremes. You never have balance. It's either going to be nearly 250 degrees Fahrenheit or nearly 250 degrees minus Fahrenheit. You're either going to be in direct light or direct darkness. It has no water. And, you know, it fits the allegory, Jeff, is what I'm saying.
And Nancy asked a good question. Why would there be a fake moon? What's the purpose?
It's a good question.
Sorry, it wasn't Nancy. It was April.
Okay. How about this scenario, folks? No matter how you look at mankind, how we got here, how we seem to come back after catastrophe, Earth catastrophe, we've got this object here. Now, there are records that would suggest that there was a time before the moon. I don't know about that, because we don't have records that I know of that go back that far. But in any case, Jeff, so think about this. We always say that we're unique. Why can't we see anyone else out there in the universe? Why is it that the Earth has one artificial satellite that doesn't rotate, but yet has unique properties? By the way, the surface of the moon is coated with a substance called H3, helium-3. It can't find it here on Earth, but it's in abundance up there. They say it's an element that will actually take us into space travel.
You know, people are commenting from working in daycares to being EMT workers to being police officers to being bartenders. When it's a full moon, the craziness and the injuries and everything goes way up. And my question would be, if it is artificial, then why would it have such an effect when it's a full moon?
Well, think about it. Maybe it's a frequency. I'm doing a show right now on what has been emitted by our government, the CIA.
No, you're not. You're doing a show right now with us.
Well, I'm giving you a sneak peek. All right. That says and shows conclusively we can actually turn a person's brain on and off using electromagnetics frequencies. And it gets really weird to what they now know what they can do to brains. So I still contend these last 3 mass murders that we had, these mass incidences, of course, you don't hear anything about the Las Vegas shooter. No more about the autopsy. This thing has been taken out, folks. It's off. The other thing that I find bizarre, Jeff, is that you don't hear anything about the Manhattan cat. I mean, you can't find anything in the news. No arraignment.
The guy that did the ramming with the car?
Yeah. No arraignment. You can't find anything. And now the story down in Texas is suddenly just, let's not talk about it. Let's move on. too many odd things going on. I've done several exposés on my channel, Jeff, showing with such things as technology like Stingray that the vans are all out. You can't tell the difference on these vans. You think it's a UPS truck going through your neighborhood, and actually they're deploying this technology that, they can literally see inside your house. They literally can hear everything that's going on. If you've gotten a television that has been manufactured past 2008, I was in the industry for nearly a quarter of a century. Those devices are interactive, but it doesn't matter anymore because people are putting Alexa, they're putting Siri, they're putting Google into their house, which are now proving to be 24/7 listening devices.
Now, here's an interesting point that a couple of people have brought up, and I experienced this myself. Those of us that dabble, and I'm being silly, those of us that dabble in divination, whether it be crystal balls or whether it be tarot or whether it be any other type of scrying device, many people will put their divination tools out in a full moon to charge them up. And the anecdotal evidence over many years is that the full moon does have a very powerful positive effect on these articles of divination. How would you respond to that, Wayne?
Makes perfect sense to me. I say that we still haven't understood energy. Our understanding of it in a bandwidth is very narrow. If we could see, Friday night, I did a show, Jeff, on the full spectrum. And if humans could see the full spectrum all the way across, I think we would be blown away.
Mm-hmm. So why would it put out positive charging for those things if it was a negative thing?
It's only negative because we've been taught that way. If we really strip away the modern day religious dogma and push it aside, because I still contend that Christianity is an amalgamation of many different religions.
Absolutely.
And it's just guised at a so-called monotheic doctrine that's really polytheistic in its application. But I digress. The point that I'm saying is that we have been taught that. Now I question everything now. Well, why have we been? But here's the thing. You go through the book of Proverbs, you got divination everywhere.
You do.
I mean, Proverbs 16 talks about the bones have been cast. The die has been, cast out. What is that, folks?
And a lot of other people, and I've experienced this, and I did with the full moon, that you go out and you actually, you've heard of sun gazing, you do moon gazing, and it actually has a very powerful and positive effect on you, the moon itself. So it's a bit of a conundrum if we think it's a malevolent or at least a not benevolent sphere, but yet we pull a lot of good positive energy about it. It kind of makes for a little, thank you, D. Gunyon, a little conundrum there.
It is a conundrum. And what if it is the habitation of the gods?
The moon.
Yes, literally the moon.
Hmm.
I have tell you, Jeff, the more and more I think about the hollow earth, and as like I said, I'm doing a program right now. It's going to be, and I'll show everyone before we leave, another view of the sun. And I am contending that between SETI, SOHO, SDO, and now the High Observation Observatory telescope, that we are capturing, I think, energy signatures of, I think, craft.
And a lot of people have suggested that even the sun might be the source of the divinity or the home of the divinity, or the Mount Olympus, if you will.
There is a person on YouTube, many people have heard of her, Yellow Rose, and her earlier work was very groundbreaking as far as I'm concerned. She puts this, and this was kind of my first real immersion into seeing that intelligence sentient beings, Jeff, of a greater scale than we can ever imagine are out there. And the evidence is all around us.
Interesting. And some of our agrarian farmer types are saying that of old and even now currently, the most successful farmers plant in according to the moon phases. And Dave even talked about a book called gardeningbymoonlight.com. So it seems that the moon has very positive impacts on us. And that's interesting. So,
well, you talked about the negative side of this. And while you were just talking, the thought entered my mind was this. If you're tuned into the right frequency, you'll get your FM station. But if you're looking for an AM station on an FM bandwidth, what you're going to get is the opposite. It's going to be negative.
The fishing's also better during a full moon.
That's a fact. Yeah,
it is.
And in many spells and incantations in Wicca and in other occult practices, you cast certain spells by the full moon. You know, if you're into sex magic, you know, that has a special power. I know that when I'm out there with the telescope and with the cameras, I like it. It's a very soothing light. It really is.
Gary said barefoot and naked, preferably, if you're going to do that, Wayne.
Yeah.
And I have to echo what Terry A125 says. I've never felt negative about the moon. I've always felt positive from it, actually.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
and Davey says sex is good on the full moon too. He's just saying.
Well, there you go. You know,
I don't know about that.
Well, those in the know.
Is the moon Olympus? Ask Rune.
I think it is. You know, if you go back and you look at the Greek pantheon, even the Romans, because the Romans just merely adapted the Greeks and then, you know, add a little bit of Egyptian in there to really make it feel good. I think this is where they dwelled. I'll share this with everyone. So when I was 17. Yeah. Went and saw a concert, Creedence Clearwater Revival with Bo Diddley.
There's a bad moon on the rise.
I dropped some clear plane acid, and that's what it was called, window pane. And I actually had an out-of-body experience because we had gone out into the country after the concert, and the full moon was out there. And, you know, one of the things about LSD is that it will, if you're trained in that area, it will put you out there in a second. And it was quite an adventure.
I wonder if we've had any people that have done remote viewing about the moon.
I'd like to know about that. Yeah.
That'd be very interesting.
You know, there have
Natalie says it's always crazy in the emergency room on a full moon. She works there.
Yep.
Gary Baxter says LSD cures cocaine. I think Gary's going to be at the show. I think he is. I'm not sure.
You've got to do some interviews with people, Jeff. You got to do.
Oh, that's a great idea, Wayne. I never even thought about that. Yes. Let me write that down.
So everyone can then begin to see the other faces. Because
that's a great idea.
You know, I love the medium that we have with YouTube and what have you, but you know, the next step is going to allow the audience a much more interactive. And here's what I see happening, Jeff. I envision a program that I could write that allow you and I kind of be in a stage setting, 2 chairs, you know, coffee table in between, but the audience expands out the living room. And we could have a 2-way perspective from an audience member to what they see and what we see them.
Interesting. That's a great idea.
Coming in the near future.
Coming in the near future. But I never even thought about doing interviews at the seminar. That's a great idea. And I just hope that all these people out there live up to their image they projected on YouTube here. It's going to be great. I envision at the beginning, you know, everybody standing up. I know we're going to have a lot of people. I hope we can get through it pretty quickly, but stand up saying who they are and saying that they're, you know, what their username is. So that should be quite a fun time.
Yeah, I think you'll be able to do it. You give everyone...
April thinks the moon is inhabited. And by the way, Joseph Smith said that the moon was inhabited by people that dressed like Quakers.
I don't know, but listen about this, folks. So, Jeff, think about this. Jacob's ladder, when Jacob had his vision, the ladder went up and what are you laughing about? Someone.
Sandra D says, I surpass my image.
Now, that's a person who probably could say in my name and have confidence that it knows that it carries power
Be
and authority.
careful, Robert. He says he's growing shrooms, just got his spores yesterday.
Well,
I don't know if you want to advertise that because I don't believe they're legal in many municipalities.
California is going to make them.
Shrooms?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think they've already proven medically that psilocybin, what it does for the brain is remarkable. If you have PSD,
PTSD?
PSD, excuse me, an other type of depression, psilocybin in the clinical form absolutely takes that away.
Good morning, Heidi Vandenberg.
Good morning, Heidi.
Who will definitely be at the seminar. She'll be doing a great presentation on Vedic astrology. She'll be participating in our roundtable. She'll be offering readings.
I think we ought to charge like $5 to get your picture taken with Heidi. And then,
you know, it's funny. My stepfather is a photographer, and we had it all set up. He was going to do that, but he's got to go and his granddaughter's graduating from college or something stupid that he can't be at our event. So I was a little upset with him.
Oh, well.
Heidi's driving, can't talk, but she's listening.
Okay.
Excellent.
Keep focus.
And somebody said something else very interesting back here that rolled through. Heidi distracted me, but I can't.
She'll do that.
Yeah, every now and then. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was saying there, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
All right. We just talked about the full moon. Why don't we talk about then the new moon?
The new moon is very, very powerful. I used to live out by a lake and it was rather secluded, so I could go out there buck naked and do moon bathing, and you do it on both the Wayne laughs, the new moon and the full moon, and it's very, very powerful. It really is.
It's very powerful. So the new
moon. Wayne, a kissing booth. Oh, kissing booth with Heidi and Jenny.
Hey, I have a nonprofit tax deductible. Then we could do. That's a good idea. Oh, we're talking Petticoat Junction now. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, I remember that. Not many people remember that.
Yeah,
but we do.
We're talking little Abner. This be Miss Daisy. Heidi, I just called you Miss Daisy.
Miss Daisy was blonde, wasn't she?
Well, she could have been a, dark-haired raven.
Kevin Kitchen says, "Okay, I'm coming." That's hilarious. But in these days, I mean, you can't do that anymore.
No, unfortunately.
They didn't have to worry about what's the stuff on your lips?
Herpes.
Herpes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heidi says, "Yeah, not happening. I won't even drink after anyone," she says. I'm with you, Heidi, on that.
That's just funny. We're not germaphobes, right? No way.
I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. I'll admit.
I have to say, every time I go in, when they have the antibacterial swipes that you can pick up, you wipe everything down.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, yeah, I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. Heidi says she is for sure. I have a feeling that Jenny's either not or really is one hardcore. I'm not sure. I'd have to guess. And I'm doing a show with Trisha today at 3 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you tune in for that.
John G. Lake is the guy I was trying to think of, who I got his book. He was the doctor that became into basically kind of the Pentecostal faith, started the first Mercy ship, hospital ship, went over to Africa, and is where the plague was, and he was the first human to ever actually take the froth from the plague of a victim and have absolutely the the cells just die when it touched his
Yeah, they
hand.
would put it on his skin, and you could, under the microscope, you would see it actually die. John G.
Yeah.
Lake, one of the great healers,
Yep.
he used to literally go into the hospitals and heal people. And I believe he opened his own hospital there for a while for healing center.
Yep, he did.
John G. Lake, one of the great old names of Pentecost.
Yeah. And the sad thing is that in his the end of his life, he ended up dying blind and with a couple of serious afflictions. It's just, it's weird. You know, the other one that used to do that, the same thing was Smith Wigglesworth.
I was just about to say Smith Wigglesworth.
Yeah. Yeah. I got his whole library over there. And, you know, during the whole.
Here's John Graham Lake.
There he be, right there.
And I've actually preached at what used to be the Church of Truth in Spokane. That was his church.
Yep. Yep.
And who else did we say? Smith Wigglesworth. Yes.
Smith Wigglesworth. And, you know, the Azusa Street revival that happened in Los Angeles in 1909. There he is.
He looks like the Monopoly guy.
Well, you know, the stories of this dude, he would have surpassed any master magician of our day.
Absolutely.
You know, The Light and the Glory was the one that John G. Lake wrote. That was his book, The Light and the Glory. Yep.
Yep. And there was another guy that was, he was after them, but he did some very powerful stuff too. A.A. Allen.
Yeah.
And eventually died of alcoholism.
Yeah.
And just for those of you that know anything about this, A.A. Allen is the one that gave R.W. Shambach his start.
Yep.
R.W. Shambach was the song leader for A.A. Allen.
I have a theory.
William Branham was another one of those guys in that genre.
Yep. It was a time that we're not in that time anymore. I contend that we went through a region of space, and because space is energy, we don't understand all the different forms of energy. Energy is frequency. Our brains emit and receive frequencies. And if you're tuned in to a higher power, and I think that these men and women, they were tuned into something, because the miracles that we would call miracles, the manifestations, did happen.
You'd have to throw Catherine Kuhlman into that group too.
I think you would too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing about Smith Wigglesworth is that they'd say that when he would start into his meditation, which we would call prayer, and he would invite the Holy Spirit in, they said that people could not stand in the room with him. So what was there? Well, I think there was a very powerful force that was there. And I think that certain people can get tuned into this. Listen, I think, Jeff, every one of us have the ability to lay hands on each other and heal one another. I really do believe that.
Well, I do too.
You know, and, you know, we say time and time again on this show all the time, you should be laying hands on yourself every morning when you're getting into the shower or into the bath. It's a perfect time. Speak to your body. Speak it from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. I used to pray. I used to speak to the hair follicles on my head, but yeah, they were doing a rabbit dance.
That's the thing that always made me wonder about Benny Hinn, that he can do all these tremendous miracles and God can work all this power through him, but somehow he can't cause hair to grow out of the top of his head.
I don't know why that is.
It's amazing.
I don't know, but you know, and it gets into these things where we were talking earlier about the moon. You know, I think that we're about to discover that there are frequencies around us, energy, that we're going to see that we go through life and sometimes we buzz up against it and we have an effect. And how many times have you said this to yourself, Jeff? If I could only get back to that place again where a breakthrough came through.
I've never said that to myself, actually, but I follow your point. And Reese has asked this twice. How about the whole idea, Wayne, of those, you know, like the Devil's Tower there in South Dakota, that those are tree stumps?
I happen to think that is true.
You really do?
I do. I do. I think the evolution of a planet is of such a nature that it's just like this. How come we have ice ages? We never travel that far from the perihelion of our apex through the journey with the sun. The Earth is never out of that sync. So what would cause the Earth to go into deep forms of ice ages in times when it was very warm and tropical? I think this planet has gone through a number of changes.
Yeah. I'm not buying it, you guys, but that's okay.
Well, you know, what about Genesis 6:4? Do you think that the Nephilim were ever here?
Well, the Nephilim were here. This says that they were giants, but I don't believe the Bible teaches that the Nephilim were an offspring of angels and humans. The Bible never says that. That's something we've read into it.
Well, again, that's the problem when you have how shall we say? I'm trying to think of the word ambiguity in interpretation, because it's subject to every person's view. All right.
I believe if you're gonna say it says something, you've got to have a verse to point to from the original language, and it just doesn't say it. But the Nephilim were here. They were giants, but they weren't, biblically speaking, an offspring of angels or some supernatural being and women. In fact, it goes out of its way to say it was the sons of God, at least, were human babies from human women. And there's a lot of people that believe the silicon-based petrified wood tree stump thing, Wayne.
Oh, I absolutely do believe it.
So all of those things were trees.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the rest of the trees? If those are just the stumps, what happened to the rest of those huge trees?
Well, first of all, we have to go back to a time of Pangea.
Okay.
When the continents were one continent. And the Earth back then, there is a lot of evidence that would support this, was smaller. We were a smaller planet, much more condensed. The atmosphere was much more carbon dioxides, much more CO2s, which
really? Okay.
which would encourage the chlorophyll for photosynthesis. So if we know that the dinosaurs were here, I mean, we just found one up from where I live, up in Fort Collins, the first complete Tyrannosaurus Rex, completely intact. So these creatures were here. The fauna had to be of such of plentiful form that would support not only the herbivores, but the carnivores as well. And if you're saying that Homo erectus or other life forms, the bipedals, were not on this planet, I disagree with you. I think they were here. And I think this planet was a different planet. It's just my belief.
Interesting.
You know, when you look at the Great Rock in Australia, and our folks that are in Australia can probably speak to this better than I can. That sacred mountain there that it's off limits to everyone. The Aborigines have now made it a sacred mountain. You can't climb it anymore. And it's where the pictographs are at. They swear that rock came down from heaven. And it certainly doesn't fit in the landscape. I mean, the topography would lend it. There it is. I mean,
would this be one of those tree stumps?
Yes, they absolutely say that this is, you look at the view of it, and again, we can't go there anymore. But it's one of those strange, there you go.
But if it came down from heaven, how could it be a tree stump?
You know, I don't know how people interpret things, and when they write, I've learned, look at that. Isn't that very odd how you see that rock like that, the picture there?
It's pretty impressive.
So I like to change gears on something because I know this will be something of interest of you. So I'd like to take everyone back to September 9/11, 2015. How many remember what happened in Mecca? Does anyone know in the chat room what happened on?
Oh, yeah, that's when that
crane
collapse.
Do you know what the body count was on the final body count of that? They estimate over 2,000 people.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple thousand.
So they found something. I went in and really did an investigation on, do you know how many front end loaders that they had, and how many cranes and how many backhoes and the whole construction site, they had well over a couple hundred of these massive machines digging. They found something. And I think that they may have fact. I don't know if it was the Ark of Gabriel, which is the Ark of the Covenant. I don't know, but something, Jeff, I contend has happened. I wanted to make sure, because actually, let me get out of here.
Far be it for me to agree with Lee Veltman, but I kind of come down on his side with this one, that Ark of Gabriel thing, at least from what I know now, would be in the hoax category.
I disagree. I disagree with that totally.
Of course, I'm poking a little fun at you, Wayne, all in fun. Or
yeah, I know.
Lee, I meant.
Yeah. Listen, we know, in fact, that Russia, the Russian fleet, did dock outside, and I forget what is the city there. It's not Jaffa, but what is it? Is it Jaffa? It's the port right there in Saudi Arabia. We know that there was something that took place with the Russians, with one of the churches down there. There was a strange ritual that took place. I still contend that the trip that Kerry took last year on the election, the day of the election, is very odd. By the way, have you seen Kerry in the news?
Yeah, he's teaching at Yale now.
Yeah, he's gone underground. He ain't out there anymore.
Yeah.
So I contend, and I still contend, that there's something down in Australia.
Australia?
I mean, excuse me, Antarctica.
Okay.
Yeah.
May well be. I don't think it would be the Ark of the Covenant. I think that Elohim took that away, and it's whatever it was. Who knows?
I don't know. You know, I believe that these relics exist. I believe it is technology, not religion, not a god. It's just knowledge. It's someone who has a little bit more of us, who understands how to manipulate, capture photons. They understand how breaking down light rays from the white light through the entire spectrum. And I think that's where I contend on that.
Well, it's certainly a subject for speculation and study, no doubt about it.
Well, I guess what I have to ask people then, what were they digging for there in Mecca? I mean, you can't tell me that they were putting in new supports. And that's the byline, that they were merely digging to put in foundational supports that go down deeper to the bedrock that would support the whole place there.
Right.
All right. Still doesn't answer to me. You know, it when you look at this crane, have you seen the pictures of how big that crane was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Over almost 100 feet. Do you know how much weight you would have to have for a crane that tall? I have friends in the construction trade. To have a crane almost 100 feet tall, you're lifting something very, very heavy, and something that would require a great deal of counterbalance.
This is Mecca.
Yep.
And this is Israel up here.
And that is supposedly where, you know, they crossed over on the trip from Moses. That the whole group, if you go by the story, for 40 years, this is where they traversed.
And it was a 9-hour walk, ladies and gentlemen. A 9-hour walk. And they wandered for 40 years.
They got lost, buddy.
It's almost as if the story's not true.
So I don't know. You know, who built the moon? I don't know.
Do you think it was built? What about the people that say it's a hologram? They've seen, you know, a line go down it like it's being projected. They say that they can see the stars through it. They say that you can see sky through it sometimes. What about that belief?
I don't know. I mean, I talked to Gene Cernan. I believe that he, in fact, went there, and he took secrets to his grave, as all of them did. So I don't know. The people challenge to say that we never went up there. Well, anyone can go to any university that has a laser, a powerful enough one, and you can do your own experiment. We left instrumentation up there. And, so when people try to get up the whole debunking thing, and I say, yeah, I like your thing. Get that out of my face.
So you think so you believe it is actually a celestial object, but you just don't think it's one that is of natural origin in its current location?
No, no, not at all.
Okay.
If we are a grand experiment, I mean,
Kenny says his wife is an Israelite and it takes her 40 years to get ready to go out. That explains it.
Oh, it's like my wife literally asked me one time. She says, do I look fat in this dress? And I said, do I look stupid?
Exactly.
It's not going to happen. Not going to touch that. But getting back to the moon.
I fell for one of those questions one day, Wayne.
Ooh.
And it wasn't pretty.
The biggest faux pas I ever made in my professional career. True story. And those lessons is I asked the CFO of this company, right, that they had brought me in for the interview. And I made the mistake of asking when she was due.
Oh, that's horrible. And she wasn't pregnant.
Oh, my goodness. I never did live that one down.
That must have been a little awkward.
Wasn't enough candy. Wasn't enough, if anything, to undo that.
That must have been a little awkward.
Oh, yeah. But we learn, don't we?
Yes. Lesson note to self. Don't ever do that again.
Woo. Yeah. But getting back to that, I really do. Listen, I think that I was at a place yesterday where we got into a good discussion about these gaps in our histories. And as you can see, I've identified the two that I'm trying to stay focused in on. And, if we could figure it out, Jeff, I think that a lot of these questions that we have about religion, about faith, about the world we live in, about this reality, would tell us a lot.
Is there truth to the idea that one side of the moon is very marked up with craters and the other side of it is relatively smooth by comparison?
The backside, yes, is a whole different looking landscape.
Yeah, one of my old pet Pentecostal theories was that when Lucifer rebelled, and of course I don't believe this anymore, when Lucifer rebelled between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, and the earth got all messed up, that part of the moon that was facing the earth took a bunch of debris, and that's why it has all the meteors.
I don't know. I know this side is not nearly as pockmarked as the backside. Now,
right.
The astronauts will tell you on what.
Karen, your I Am Divine t-shirt just shipped.
Ah, excellent. But they've all heard strange music on the backside. The first time.
Is it music or is it like a noise? Does it sound like somebody singing or?
It sounds like instruments.
Interesting.
It freaked the astronauts out. Tyler over there at Secure Team has some of the best videos of. I think that we've seen mining equipment.
Is it the angels singing?
I don't know. I don't know what an angel is.
Yeah. A lot of people say that Secure Team has been debunked. Do you agree with that?
You know what? The classic game in disinformation is that you put the truth out, and then the truthers who put the truth out, they go and debunk it themselves, leaving you in a state of confusion. And the way I look at it, it's like the whole thing on the moon effect, what they call the lunar wave. Some guy did in a post edit where he mimicked the same thing. I don't know. If people,
so you think the guys at Secure Team are legit?
I think he is. I think that he reports enough. my dad, who is 82 and a half years old, when he was in the Air Force as a kid, I never doubted that there wasn't something else out there. For my dad, he set up the first NORAD, the first North radar detection up in the Arctic. And my dad has seen enough stuff. He worked for NASA for nearly 35 years, did all the instrumentation panels for all the missions. So he knew a lot that was going on. And I've met a number of the astronauts. So when I hear people talk about that our space program is not know where it is, I just shake my head. Where do you think the TR-3Bs came from, folks? And if you don't know what the TR-3 is, then you need to get hip to it, because the TR-3s are today what the F-117 was back in the Clinton administration, back in 1991.
Interesting.
So,
Somebody's saying that we have the supermoon starting tonight. Yes, we do have the supermoon starting tonight.
Yeah, and
that'll be great to see.
It's,
so I'll get my crystal ball out.
It should, yeah, put it out there
and let it get charged up so we can use it next Sunday.
Yeah. Listen, it's the movie They Live. I watched that again, and whoa, Jeff, I missed a scene in that where the guy is at the book stand, the newspaper stand.
Yeah.
And he goes to pay. How many of you remember what that scene was?
I remember that scene.
Okay, what was it when he paid? What did the money say? It said, "This is your God."
Oh, it did say that. That's right.
And when I see this whole nonsense about Christmas and the worship, I think of Simon and Garfunkel's song, The Song of Silence. This is the neon God that we have made. And this is the God that we serve. It's the God of materialism. I observe a lot, and I like football. I like college football. And so I was watching a couple of the championships game, Georgia and Auburn. And I started doing a tally of what the commercials were. And it's really
interesting,
strange to see what's happening to us, folks. You're either going to be told that you have to buy something because that's going to make you feel the Christian Merry Christmas thing. This is how you do it. And so really what you're doing, you're worshiping this material God. You are a slave to it when you're born. You're a slave to it when you die. But get this, Jeff, between the materialism of either buying a new car or a new iPhone or going with Verizon, your other by 60% were the drug commercials.
Oh yeah, those drug commercials are dominating.
I sat back because I turned the sound off and I'm just writing my notes. This is indoctrination, ladies and gentlemen, that it is nefarious beyond anything. So getting back to the movie They Live,
we need to go to a single payer system. Trump floated it during the campaign. I know the Republicans hate it, but that's the only thing that'll work.
Oh yeah. Well,
in my opinion,
on the healthcare.
Yes.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
And it shouldn't be. And the only reason it is, and I never have my wallet around when I want it, it's just because of money. The doctors and the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want to give up their super inflated salaries and bring it down to where if you're a doctor because you actually really want to help people, not because you want to drive a Ferrari. Enough. And that's the end of my rant.
Actually, this is the one time I'm going to contradict myself. Well, I'll probably end up doing a lot in my lifetime, but AI. I think bringing in AI to do medical analysis will absolutely gut the pharmaceutical industry, which it needs to be gutted.
Absolutely.
We are slaves to them. They don't find cures. How much money did Jerry Lewis raise for muscular dystrophy in his lifetime?
A bunch.
Almost $1 billion. Have we found any cures? They'll never find the cure. If they do, we will never get it.
And you wonder where all that money went. Hey, Trisha G.
Hey, Trish. So here's where I think AI could actually come in, and we could get the Jetsons to actually have the real life here. There's
Yeah.
no reason for us not to have monitors in every home in America, that you could literally go in and do a scan right now. You could do a saliva scan that this AI machine would be able to detect subtle differences on a cellular level of your body.
Interesting.
You know, Matthew McConaughey, who is the pretty boy on the 70s show?
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher. He brought in a number of people. Mark Cuban is on this. They invested several, it's a good, into the millions. And it's just now being deployed into malls. They're going to be in airports. And it is going to be this AI scanning devices. You can actually sign in with a membership. And no matter where these satellite offices are, you could go in 24/7 and have yourself a full medical scan. Now, who's fighting this? Believe it or not, our government's fighting it. The insurance companies are fighting it, and the big pharmas.
Well, I say, all right, all right, all right.
So anyway, buddy, it's crazy. It really is. And I think that, do you know how much, and I'll say, I know an individual, do you know what their personal premiums are? And this is not for a Cadillac plan, $1,100 a month.
That's crazy. I know. Bernie Sanders is, we don't want to go down the political route.
Going up to $1,437 a month.
That's just crazy.
Yeah. Is that nuts?
And it doesn't cost. I mean, it's just the system is completely broken.
I say this, every congressman, every senator should be brought up on charges of, number one, fleecing the American people. We should have the very same insurance plan that they have, and the government should be paying for it. Hey,
exactly right.
If those
they
jackasses
have a single payer plan,
they absolutely do. You know,
Secret Truth, please stop. Don't make me kick you out.
It's not fun. You don't want to do that. It's better in here.
Because you know I will.
So, all right. So I've been going back and reading a book that when I first read it, I got to tell you, Jeff, I was kind of going, huh.
Ooh, charge your rods tonight too. Nice.
That's a good idea. Hey, put out your tarot cards and the galactic cards.
Yeah, the select. What is it? What are they called? I forgot the name.
GTA. Yeah.
They're called Cosmic Deck of Initiation.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've stopped using all but the major arcana, Wayne, of the tarot deck. I just use the major arcana now.
Okay. Well, it shows that you're advancing on the path.
Or completely messing up the whole system.
So what do you think about the theory that this coming religious war is really going to be more Christian versus Christian?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not convinced we'll have a religious war, but they're certainly trying. It looks like they're trying to start one.
It seems like they are, aren't they? I get more and more of these vibes. Anyway, this is a book I call Blood in the Altar. It's a very interesting book. And
I think it's more likely to be Christians against people like us.
Oh, you think?
Rods can be sent to the UK if you want to pay the extra shipping. They can't be sent to Canada. It's just too hard with the customs and everything.
Really?
Sorry, I had like 4 or 5 questions. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Canada.
I can send them to the UK for an extra $15, but you can't send them to Canada without filling out literally like 6 or 8 pieces of paperwork, and it's just ridiculous.
For copper?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a drop down on the menu that says UK orders, and you can put it in there, and we'll send them to you. And Trisha got hers, and they were good to go.
I wonder if you could ship it to UK and then ship the UK to Canada.
You know, you probably could, because there's that reciprocity between.
Exactly.
They're not brass, no, they're copper.
So just a thought. I don't know.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
So
But then
as we
it's not
go out,
much. Yeah.
what?
Anyway,
So have you heard the rhetoric now being ratcheted up about North Korea?
it's always been. I mean, it's so ratcheted up, and I still think that North Korea is somewhat of a distraction, and that it ends up well.
I hope you're right. I really do. Um, I don't like it when I see what's going on. You know, we sent over another 200 um, F-15s, F-16s, F-22s, F-35s. I hope that's the case. I was a little bit taken aback with this last missile test, to be honest with you. For him to get it that high up, yeah, they said, well, the rocket broke up on reentry. I don't think they really cared. I think it was more of the statement that says that we can get this up there. So
Sterling says he's been to Korea 4 times this year, no problems.
all calm on the Western Front.
I'm just reading what he said. I don't know if he's been to North Korea or not. He lives in Japan, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, he lives in Japan.
Are you doing tests over there? That's what we're hearing.
Interesting.
Because they just did the test yesterday, I think, in Hawaii. And I'm hearing from some of the people I know that you're going to start seeing it on the West Coast. They're actually going to start reviving the nuclear test, let you know that when there's a missile coming in. So
Sterling's been to South Korea.
South Korea. Okay.
And interestingly enough, Wayne, I have sold like all of my ebooks to somebody in North Korea.
Wow.
Which is almost a little bit scary. But from what I understand, foreigners and government officials do have access to the internet.
Yeah, they do.
North Korea. So it could be just someone that's a contractor or something.
I'm sure it's heavily monitored, but
yeah, I'm sure it is.
Well, I hope that's the case. I tell you, I don't like what I see going on. It just I don't know. Maybe it's just like you said, maybe it's a distraction.
Somebody says it's Kim Jong-un who bought the books.
So everyone who's going to the conference next week, if you see there's a gas near Jeff, walk away.
If there's a what?
You know, a little gas hanging around you, you know?
Oh, yeah. Come on, boys. Quit fighting with each other in the chat room.
Are they not playing nice?
No, they're being silly.
Okay. Come on. All it is love, brother. All it is.
Yeah, just don't be that way.
Someone asked me, they said, well, why did you stop being a Christian? And I turned around and I said, well, it's because I never found one. And I said it just off the cuff, but when I started thinking about that, I went, well, it's kind of true. You're looking in the chat room there. I can see.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to put a couple people in timeout and let them sit there. It's silliness. I'm sorry. Got distracted by these guys.
That's okay. So, well, we have to admit, folks, we do keep the conversation lively.
We do keep it lively. There's no doubt about that. But what was your answer to why you stopped becoming a Christian?
I said off the cuff because I never met one.
Oh, there you go.
I never have. Even myself, I never met one. It's just a fact. I never met anyone who could live anything up to the virtues, and no one that actually practices it in its totality.
Well, you have the classic line from Gandhi, I like the Christ, I just don't like the Christians.
Now, that's funny.
It is funny. I mean, Gandhi actually said that. Yeah, I love the Christ. It's just the Christians I have problems with, I think he said, actually.
You know, and I can look back at myself because I was the number one a-hole, man. I mean, you know, oh, man. Laughter does the heart is a good medicine.
It does, doesn't it? It really does. And there's so many things to think about. I mean, is the moon real? What's going on in Antarctica?
Oh, the
Christian
full
G says she loves the moon.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the folklore alone in our species history, that moon plays a major role.
Reza says the moon is made of crystal.
Hmm.
Davey says he's gave us something about live meteors. He says, listen to what the meteor sounded like. Let's give it a quick listen just to see what Davey's talking about.
So been
Davey's a
there.
trusted source. Let's listen to this real quickly.
Yeah, I've been following this for 3 years, this website. Um,
Why won't it play?
you have to go down there on YouTube now.
Oh, what does it sound like, Wayne? Is it worth listening to?
You know, if you've never listened to it before, it's interesting. We definitely know that we tracked something really
Okay, we're gonna
big.
forget about it.
Yeah, I go to the site, and I actually had a military naval guy who that's what his job was, is to read radar. We're tracking something up there, folks. There's something out there. By the
Something out
way,
there about the moon, huh? Somebody says the moon is from Titan. It's a
I don't
long
know.
way.
It would not surprise me. So I want to show you some stuff here, Jeff. I'll show you some of the raw. Can you see that?
I can.
All right. So this is a telescope right here on planet Earth. In fact, it's just a little bit north of me up here.
We see all of your little thumbnails right now.
Oh, you still can. Okay. So let me stop the share. And here we go. Now, do you see that?
We see, yeah, it's purple and it's got the directions in it.
So this is the sun, folks.
Oh, that's the sun?
Yep, this is the corona.
Why is the black thing in the middle? Is that a filter?
Yes, it's give you orientation when you're looking at the sun, where is north, where is in east and west. Now
Okay.
watch this. So this one allows us to take a view of the sun that you probably have not seen. And I want to show you some stuff.
So Wayne, is that whole purple thing the sun, or is the sun behind that black circle?
The sun is behind the black circle.
Okay.
Watch this, folks. You don't think there's some crazy stuff happening out? This is what I want to draw everyone's attention to. Watch these. Something came through here. See how it literally broke off the corona?
So is the sun artificial?
I don't know. Here we go. Check that out. How about that, Jeff?
Is it just some sort of a photographic anomaly?
No, because actually what we're picking up here is literally, this is radiation. This is what we're picking up. This is the corona. So this is what we can see. And whatever those are, how about those? Check these out. There's things up there, Jeff, and I'll show you some more. These are some of the better ones. Here we go.
Is this taken through your telescope?
No, this is one that everyone can get access to.
Oh, cool.
And as you can see, I call these energy signatures. I've captured them on a number of different satellites, which have no relationship to each other.
It almost looks like you're catching, like you said, energy waves or
exactly
or pulses. I think George asked me something about this the other night on Coast to Coast.
Check this out right here. That's a solid object, but look at this, Jeff. What in nature does a 90-degree turn? I'm just asking. And look at this. Here's another one.
Very interesting.
Now here's another one. Check these out, Jeff. So they're going right by, and these are just, look at this. So this is a different filter, and you can see it's showing up there. I think this is what we're capturing. And as you can see, I'm going through these very quickly.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, how about that one? Reminds me of the Daytona 500.
It kind of does.
So there you go, my friend. There are strange, look at this. You know, and here's the thing, when I
So this
studied,
would be out away from the sun and
yeah,
the kind of around the sun. Yeah.
yeah, yep, yeah, we're talking millions of miles
Yeah.
out from the sun here. But look at this. You know, when I see contrails or the chemtrails, you'll see them a lot of times when they're going through. You can see how it's, you know, it's kind of like the wake you see of an engine.
Hmm.
Doesn't it remind you of kind of like the outflow exhaust? Look at down here.
Well, the sun is, such a powerful object. You never know what kind of energies and frequencies and even wakes, I guess, if you want to say it's throwing
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. So there you go, my friend. That's kind of little projects I'm doing on that one. But I'm convinced that we're seeing it. We just don't recognize it.
It's amazing. I mean, there's so much stuff out there to wonder about and to
There is.
question.
Yeah. And who built the moon? That's what I want to know.
I read that book. It was a good book. I wasn't
Yeah.
totally convinced with it, but it was a good book.
Yeah. It's in my library. And then, you know, the alien bases 2 on the moon. You know, we always get, there's another one that, I mean, there's good
Was it
stuff
is
out.
it Lear or is it Lear that's always on coast talking about what's going on the moon and there's structures on the moon, blah blah
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how was George? How was the interview? You never said, you know, I know you had to stay up like till like 5
Yeah,
o'clock in the
it's
morning.
like I'm so excited the night, like I go on at 3 a.m. And on the East Coast, so I can't go to sleep before that. And then when I get off, I'm so hyped I can't go to sleep after that. So I'm literally up for like 48 hours every time I do that show.
Ooh.
And then it hits me like the next day. So even right now, I'm still kind of recovering from it. But it's so, people want to take shots at George and criticize George and say he's not even interested. He doesn't ask any good questions. He doesn't pay attention. And the producer always makes me send her like 10 or 15 questions every time I
Yeah.
go on. And
Yeah.
George has yet to ever ask me one of those questions that I send in. And he's just razor focused. He grills me really hard. He's very, very interested. I think he's a wonderful interviewer, and we had a great time.
He's a good guy. I haven't seen him in decades, but
We did not talk for 1 second about AI in the Bible, I don't think, because he had so much other stuff. We talked a lot about the Mandela effect.
yeah.
We talked a lot about prophecy. I got to talk a lot about the September 23rd thing, which I was very happy to do. And he was very helpful. We took a lot of calls, talked to a lot of callers, and it's funny because the callers were almost all positive. I had maybe I think one that wasn't positive, but it was a great time.
That's good. Good. Good.
It
Well,
was a great time. I don't know if they're reaching as many people as they used to. It doesn't seem quite like it, but it's still a great show to be on. Ebony
but
says she thought it was a great interview.
good. 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 Well, George is a good man.
Is the moon a recycling center for souls?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. Um, any way we want to look at it, it defies the laws of physics.
Yeah.
I mean, I studied this and I went back last night and started looking at this and I went, no, wait
Hello,
a minute.
Barbara.
Hi, Barb.
And let me say this before we leave George. I didn't put this in my interview, and I don't know how he even knew it. I think the producer must have mentioned it to him. But George came in and said to me, straight out of the blue, Jeff, I understand you're having a live event. Tell us about it. That just shows you
Cool.
what a good guy he is. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
I got to talk about the live event. I got to mention Rex Bear. I got to mention Heidi Vandenberg. I got to mention Jenny Moonstone. So it was really awesome. And I appreciate George for doing that because that's not something he had to do.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, do you
So
remind
yeah,
him of the St. Louis days?
he didn't get, usually the first thing he usually says to me every time I go on is, Jeff, what have you been doing? And that's when I was planning to do all that. But he didn't say that this time. He came right on and said, Jeff, talk to me about biblical prophecy. What do you think about something that just completely uh, untracked me?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
And he was
excellent.
in St. Louis. Usually he's in LA, but he was in St. Louis.
Oh, I mean, that town's changed. But anyway, well, I'm glad it was a
Yeah.
good interview, buddy. I'm
It was
glad.
fun. It really
Excellent.
was.
Excellent.
Nice to see Barbara. I haven't seen Barbara in a minute.
I was thinking about her the other day. Barb, how are you doing?
Well, she's putting pictures of her cat of a cat up, cat meme. So I
Ah,
think she's probably doing well.
I know
Someone
that
said the
cat.
best way to explain the moon is observer error.
Hmm. In what parameters?
Yeah, I don't know. The
They,
moon is definitely a mystery. It's an enigma. It's a riddle.
it is. We never
But
see.
how did the she's been busy, busy, busy. How did the tides and stuff work in the days before there was no moon? When the day before there was a moon?
I think it's the question again, how does the moon exert that kind of influence on the tides?
So you think the tides are independent of the moon?
I think, in a lot of
And it
ways,
just
yeah.
seems to be that they're
You know, again, I'm trying to figure out how this object is remaining in this stationary orbit. Now, I know it wobbles. I get that. We can measure that. But for the most part, where's the gravity? How is it generating gravity? It says it has 1/6 of the gravitational pull of our planet. Where? How is this momentum being generated? What force is in action?
it's interesting.
Those are the
Now
questions.
here's something that I thought, and Catherine just brought this up. Is it possible that some of the reason that the moon takes so much crap, for lack of a better word, is because it is emblematic of feminine deity, and they just are trying to do anything they can to smack down feminine deity, so the moon takes a lot of flack because of that?
Is that Catherine? Is that right?
Catherine, yes.
Catherine.
And
Okay.
I thought that myself many times.
So, Catherine, I think you're spot on. The uninitiated doesn't understand the moon. If you're taking it from a Christian theology point of view, the moon carries very little prominence at all in the religion. Is Islam begins to go up higher. The Vedic, the Hindus will tell you that the moon has great reverence.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, I think you're absolutely right, because that's what the Sumerians saw the moon as the feminine.
Yep.
You
And
know,
when you read the, I'm really getting deep into reading what's called the cards of life, and the moon plays a very prominent point as a divining tool.
so I tried to set the clock backwards, as that old song, "If I Could Turn Back the Hands of Time."
If I could turn
Turn
back
back the
time,
hands of time. So
share. Now we
that's it.
actually have somebody saying, and I think in all seriousness, as I delete the comment, that the moon is flat like the Earth.
You know, listen, all I got to say is that the reason the guy that was going to go up in the rocket ship last Saturday to show everyone that the Earth is flat, you know why he couldn't take off? Because his first test was using the rocket telemetry based upon around Earth.
So he was a hypocrite?
Well, his math didn't work out.
Oh, okay. And there's a reason why his math didn't work out.
No, you can't get a trajectory on a flat plane.
Ah, so that's why. So he basically proved that the Earth isn't flat.
That's what he did. And they don't want to talk about it. But it's just the fact. And listen, all these cats out there, listen, that missile, that ICBM that went off last Friday, sucker, that went up 2,500 miles. Now, you can keep on thinking what you want. I don't blame, it don't bother me, but I don't like the fact that if that missile warhead happens to reach an arc, that it'll come down on my backyard.
So it went up 2,500 miles.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit hard. Robin, I was talking about the moon is emblematic of sacred femininity. It
Oh,
always has been from antiquity. So I'm saying, is that why it takes a lot of flack? Because,
yeah.
this male dominated world right now wants to de-emphasize as much as it can sacred femininity.
I think it has. So Jeff, we're lacking our history.
Oh, absolutely.
I think of life beings now that could have a lifespan of 1,000,000 years.
Yeah.
So 6,000 years observing us,
Mhm.
that ain't no time.
So how could how high is this firmament supposed to be if that rocket went up 2,500 miles.
Well, if I take the heliosphere of the Earth is the very outer limits up there, that's about where you are, about
Okay.
25 to 3,000 miles up.
So is the idea of an ICBM to go out of Earth's atmosphere?
Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be able to reach a trajectory where it reaches the apex, and that's where it's going to hit its highest point, and then it starts to do the arc fall back down.
They don't free fall at that point, do they?
No,
Okay.
no, no. You got inertia and you got everything else. And this is what McMaster's was saying yesterday. This is troubling. He said it didn't matter where, what Kim Jong wanted to show everyone is that they have the technology for the rocket fuel, folks.
Gotcha.
The rocket fuel.
Yeah, somebody that it seems like they're a flat earth leaner says, well, if it went up 2,500 miles, and how come it landed so close, like near Japan? You just answered that because he was just trying to show I can get it up.
Yeah,
I can get it up 2,500 miles. That, you know, if I can get it up there, I can do anything I want with it. And then they just let it come right back down. They weren't trying to make it into a parabola like it would be for a launch on the US or something.
So if you do simple trigonometry, folks, so you have to look at it here. We have our base rocket here. I want it to be able to reach a certain apex here. Then I need to consider the gravity, the Earth's rotation, and the pull, and that's about 600 miles. And that's what he did. Went up, and you look at the natural drift of that rocket coming back, and it broke up an entry. And that's, they didn't care. My more concern is that they figured out the rocket fuel.
And Sterling, who lives in Japan, said that that's correct.
Yeah. I did pretty good in math. So, and that's what I have with our friends and flat earthers is, well, let's do the math. If you want to do trigonometry, let's get out and let's do trigonometry. Because the curvature of the earth is seen from a visual perspective, even on a flat plane.
What do you mean by that?
All right, so you have on a flat plane here, right? I have a concaved overhead, right? It continues to go. I can see that from a plane of at least 90 degrees.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
You can't.
There's just certain, I mean, the math doesn't work for a flat earth. And I understand the people, the observation is that the horizon seems to always rise to your eye, level of sight. But folks, once you get up high enough, anyway, we don't even need to go down this road. It's silly.
It is.
It's nutty. It's not true.
So that's my concern, Jeff. It wasn't the fact that they shot off another candlestick. It was the fact that, and you're not hearing this in the news, and the good reason why they don't want this out in the public consciousness is that, oh crap, where did they get the fuel? I mean, folks, they were using gas fuel in the previous launches. They couldn't get the solid fuel.
Solid fuel.
And now they got it.
But my thought is that if he did fire that off on his own, that probably means that nobody in North Korea gets to eat for the next 6 months.
That's about the size of it. Yeah.
So how often can he afford to do it?
That one defector that got across, what did they find in his stomach? Like a dozen?
They found a great big, huge, like a 3-foot parasitic worm. And they speculate it's because they don't even have fertilizer over there, so they have to fertilize their crops with human feces, and that's how they come up with these parasites from eating food fertilized by human feces.
That man is seriously unbalanced. That's all I got to say.
I mean, you can't even imagine the poverty that they're living in.
No. I mean, and I don't understand that this is what I don't understand about our species. We can get the Holland syndrome real quick. We can all become changed. And I don't know. I mean, on my show the other day, I was talking about, I read an article that the guy was postulating that it's impossible for our species to ever come together on a collective consciousness level. And his contention is that we don't have the ability to stay focused on another person's needs long enough to come together above our own.
Wayne, Caroline theorizes that she doesn't think, or she asked the question, what if they don't really have fuel, but they figured out how to use gravity, or rather not use gravity?
Good question.
That's interesting.
And all I can say on that one, Caroline, then that means they're getting help from somewhere. I mean, that is some sophisticated programming.
Well, the Chinese are really taking steps to cut them off. I mean, they closed the bridge between China and North Korea. I think China is working with President Trump to try to get this guy,
I hope so,
under control. But I mean, he just might be some crazy little short fat guy.
I think he really is. This dude is. This is what bothers me. I mean, and in the past, we always had the MAD theory, right?
Mutually assured destruction.
Yeah. No one was going to go through that scenario. I don't think this guy cares.
That's why, and I don't want to be seen as making predictions, but I think that they've probably got this guy in the crosshairs, and China's saying, let us work with him, but China's getting upset too. So you might see little Kim trip and fall down the stairs in the next few days and end up dead if he doesn't ship up very quickly. I think that China's going to say, okay, go ahead, take him out. And President Trump will have no problem taking him out. And we probably won't even say we did it, but he will die, or he'll get shot, or he'll have a heart attack or something.
Well, he took out the last group that he just took out, some family members. They put him in front of an anti-aircraft gun.
Talk about overkill. That's, shooting a fly with an elephant gun.
I mean, and he apparently likes this kind of stuff.
He's obviously a little bit messed up.
I'm going, I mean, folks, the shell is like, Jeff, like you said, overkill. I mean,
it would almost like obliterate the person, right?
Exactly. I mean, I guess it's quick and painless, but oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a place where I don't want my head to be at. And
is this Santos Bonacci guy a flat earther?
I don't know. Who is he?
A lot of people rave about him because he talks about some stuff that people like, but if he's a flat earther, that would be like, wow.
I don't know. I don't understand why people seem to really think this way. I don't understand it. I don't. It mystifies me when I see the complexity of our species and in our belief systems. I marvel, Jeff. I really do. I marvel at this. There's so much to learn.
It looks like Santos Bonacci has made some YouTube videos touting the flat earth. And if that's true, then forget about him. I write him off.
Any person who's done international flying, at what point did we make the U-turn? I don't know. I actually had a friend was with a group. They sailed around the world. And they ended up exactly where they were supposed to. And how does that happen? I mean, I don't understand how they say, well, if I'm heading due west, why are you going to say that suddenly that I reach an end, but then I'm all, I don't get that. But
yeah.
Anyway, buddy, it is fun. Are we going to do a show next Sunday? Or are you going to be too busy?
I'll probably be too busy trying to get things going.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll do one over on my channel, and then let me know. We're going to talk on Wednesday, right? We'll do our midweek.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it starts at 10. Yeah. There'd be no way I could do it.
Nope. You couldn't do that. So if we're going to do it live, you're going to have a channel to go live. Let me know, and I'll just pick it up on mine as well.
Okay. Absolutely. How can you pick up a live from somewhere else?
Yeah. I think you just send me the invite.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And I'll just broadcast it through mine.
Because I don't know if we're going to do it as a paid thing or not. We're in discussions about that. So,
well, I think that would be the only right thing, because if people are paying to hear the content there, Now, I think that if you want to do it later and put it as a rebroadcast,
Well,
yeah,
that's true, but live there should be some type of a.
yeah, I think that it's just fair.
I just have to figure out how to do it through YouTube.
Yeah, it's that technology.
Yeah, I think you could at least make it like a private video and only
I
give the
think you
people that
could.
pay the URL for it.
Think that's what you can do.
Yeah.
You see? Okay. Yeah. Well,
All
great
right
day.
then.
Well, it's been fun.
It has been fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this. I hope everyone else has. How many people did we have stop by this morning for coffee?
Oh, 150-ish.
Well, I got to get a bigger coffee pot.
We do. We do.
Well, and I'm very, let me just expand that out. For all those that are in evening, we could have drinks as well, iced tea, etc.
Absolutely, we could.
Yeah, we could. So,
Well, folks, thanks for being with us. It was a great time. We appreciate you being here, and we'll do this again next Wednesday,
yes.
but we're not going to do it next Sunday because we'll be deep into the extravaganza of enlightenment. But we will definitely get together again on Wednesday, Wayne. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said,
Tell them where they can find your channel, Wayne.
Wayne Steiger, Steiger, or my Facebook page is R. Wayne Steiger as well. Listen, it's something that I want to talk. We should start our own Facebook page, not your normal Sunday morning.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. How about that,
Real
folks?
Good idea. Real good idea.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I actually had someone write me from Facebook and saying that's what we should do. They love the show.
Great idea. Great idea. We'll have to do it. So Wayne, stay right there. Let me say goodbye to you. The rest of you guys, thanks so much for being here. We salute you for being here, seeking after truth. Have a great Sunday. And if you can, get down to Clearwater, Florida next week. We'll see you again on Wednesday.
Bye, everyone.